I'm Shelby and welcome back to my kitchen. Today I'm working on the Perfect Spring Soup, which is a beautiful recipe from Talia Lutzker, who was one of our yoga teachers in California. Sweet, sweet lady. She was the one that introduced me to this Ayurvedic cleanse, and this is one of the original recipes from her manual. It's got a ton of veggies in it, and it's a pureed soup, so it's really easy to digest, but it has really amazing flavor. It's got a couple of odd vegetables in it that you may not have worked with before, so I wanted to show you those. Come on over. My sweet husband, who's videoing for me right now, already chopped these veggies up for me, but I wanted to talk to you about leeks. Leek is a kind of onion. It's white on the bottom and green on the top, just like green onions, but it's much bigger, a lot thicker. A good quality leek is going to have more white part than dark green part, because the white part and the lighter green is what you use, and so you want one that's got more of that. This time of year it's really hard to find that, but you do what you can. But leeks are notorious for dirt in between the layers, and so we like to slice them into medallions and then put them in the mesh colander and wash them while pushing through their inside, so you can get all the dirt that's in the nooks and crannies out. And then fennel, which is one of my favorite vegetables. You're probably familiar with fennel seed, and it has that anise flavor. Well, this is the plant that it comes from, and this also has an anise flavor, but it's much lighter, and it's just so warm and spicy and sweet and smells delicious. This is what they look like. This is actually a really beautiful one. Sometimes they're not so pretty. To process them, you're gonna slice it here and then slice off the bottom and probably remove one of these outer layers and then dice it. So however it feels good to you to chop it up. It does have layers on it like an onion as well. And then come on over to my stove where I'm going to prep this. Again, you see I have everything set out so I don't forget. In my pot here, I have a metal strainer. And then the 2 cups of water that the recipe calls for are in the bottom of this. And all the vegetables except for the leek get steamed. And then I honestly just take some tongs and pull the strainer out from underneath the vegetables and just let them all fall back in there. You saute the leek in ghee, and then you grind up your nuts and add your spices, put it all in here, and then if you have an immersion blender, this is when it really shines. Immersion blenders are great for making hummus. They're also really good for pureed soups. This is my second one. This one's made of metal. My other one was made of plastic. I would highly recommend the metal, and this one plugs in. My other one charged. So I would look for one just like this. Again, my husband got this for me for Christmas. But when you have all of your stuff in there, you can just stick the immersion blender stick down in there and turn it on, and it's just like a handheld blender. And that's how I puree my soups and add a little bit of water if need be. Otherwise, you can run it through a blender. And we didn't have a blender up until recently, so I just would use that immersion blender. One thing I did forget to mention, another component of this recipe is miso paste, which you may or may not have used before. There's all kinds of different brands. There's different colors. You know, there's white, there's red, there's yellow, there's brown. I think it's just I don't really know what the difference in the colors is. But we've got white here today, and it calls for a tablespoon of miso. It's one of the only soy products that you can use on the cleanse because it's fermented, and that means that it helps with your beneficial gut bacteria. So I'm going to cook this soup up, and I highly recommend you do the same. Happy cleansing!